Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us today for today's education session. My name is Marcia Shields, and I'm from our customer success team. With me today is Tim Butler, who's going to be our subject matter expert for our talk on Gimmal Physical today. We appreciate you having you here today, whether you're joining us live or for watching the recording later. Tim's session today is on reporting. And yeah, thanks, Tim. Next slide, actually. A few housekeeping items. This will be a 30-minute session as normal. If you do have any questions, which we do encourage, please feel free to submit them on the bottom bar in your QA area. Submit questions there. I'll be keeping an eye on that, and I'll tee those up for Tim after his presentation. Next slide, Tim. Thank you. As we did last year, we are continuing with our Education All-Star program. For attending these education sessions and post-event surveys, you are earning points. And once you reach 3,000 points, you will get your coveted Education Series All-Star digital badge shown here. So we appreciate everybody's efforts in joining us for these sessions. To get things started, I'm going to ask for the audience input, please, for our poll question. For today, the question is, who is the primary audience for any reports you run in Gimmal Physical? So our options are yourself, end users, executive staff, or other. So we'll let those come in for just a minute here. All right, it's nearly, oh, I was gonna say it's nearly unanimous, but we're breaking it up a little bit. Let's get a couple more. Numbers have shifted. Yourself and records management is winning, but executive staff is a close second. Let's see. Give it a couple more seconds. Okay. All right, we got 80% participated. All right, let me share those results. Tim, I believe you can see that.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, so yourself or a records manager has won with 80%, and then executive staff at 50%. So I think those make pretty clear sense.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. And for those of you, the two of you that said other, if you would not mind putting your other
Mhm.
specify into the chat for Marcia
Yeah.
to collate, that would be really helpful. So thank you guys for participating in that. And with that, let's jump over, guys, into the webinar content itself. So I've pulled up my demo application of the Gimmal Physical solution. And we're going to be looking, as has been said already, at looking at reports today. Some of you may recall, guys, just a couple of months ago, we had a session dedicated to ad hoc reports. And in that session, I briefly mentioned what I call the formal reports. We're just going to switch that up today. We're going to briefly mention the ad hoc reports here to kind of level set for everybody, but then spend the bulk of our time looking at the formal reports. So mostly probably a memory refresh for you guys. On any of these data tabs within Gimmal Physical, once you have queried data, you have a couple of options here for ad hoc reports. The data that's displayed in this grid, and most of you know that this grid can be configured elsewhere with as many or as few columns as you want. However, once you run the query and you've got a display result here, you can simply click on that little printer icon here to get really the quickest, easiest ad hoc report, HTML based, nothing fancy about this. And you can see what it is, right? It's just kind of straightforward text, and you can send it to your printer, take a screenshot, or do whatever it is you want to do. So ad hoc report option there. The second ad hoc report option is same thing with this result grid. What you can do instead, a little fancier, is you can take the data in these grids, and again, it'd be true on every tab. You can click on the export. We won't take the time to do it in the session here today, but you kind of build your export profile here, picking and choosing whatever fields you want. Got some cosmetic settings you can set up at the top here. And then once you click the export button, it will eventually show down here. This is a CSV-based report. Of course, with a CSV-based report, you can then open it up with Microsoft Excel or Power BI or Microsoft Access or any of those spreadsheet type like programs. So quick flyover, guys, there of ad hoc reports. If you want more detailed, Marcia can get you the link to the session we did a couple months ago, or you can go find it out on our website as well. All right, so ad hoc reports. With that, now let's talk about, we're going to come to reports itself. And we're going to jump back to this page in just a minute, but here's where we'll spend probably the bulk of our time in our session today. But before I get into the details here, do need to give you just a little bit of the backstory. And by backstory, all I mean here is that the reports that are available to you are governed by security. Another way to say that, guys, if you don't have the security rights turned on, when you go to that reports page, you're going to see a big blank page. There'll be nothing there for you guys to click or to do. And the way that works, as most of you know, the security model within Gimmal Physical is role-based. So this certainly governs access to reports. So I've just edited a particular role here. And if I scroll down far enough, you're going to see a big section here dedicated to reports. And the way it basically works, guys, is for every single report, you can turn that report on or off. You can see I've got a mix here. Most of mine are turned on, some are not. But I do want to call out while we're here, guys, these three security rights here at the top are really important. So this one in particular, if for your role, that checkbox is not checked, when you go to the reports page, it'll just be basically a blank page. It has a little message that says, hey, sorry, you don't have access to this feature. So if you see something like that, ask your administrator to turn that security right on. The other two are a little more detailed. We'll come back to these in just a moment or two, but there are two other options here that will apply to all the reports, whereas everything below this is kind of one-on-one, report by report. These top three security rights, they govern all of the reports that show up on the reports page. So please be aware of that, or if your administrator needs to be aware, just point them there and have them turn on the appropriate rights. All right, so with that, assuming you've got those security rights turned on, we're going to talk now, guys, in more detail about these formal reports. Now, most of you probably do not know, we make a very common distinction between ad hoc reports and, what I'm calling formal reports. There's another distinction within the formal reports, actually, which I'll cover throughout the course of the webinar here today. But basically, it boils down to everything that you see in this list down below. Just going to scroll through it here quickly. All these reports here on this page, number one, you have to turn on the associated right to make them visible. And then for each one of these, with one exception, which we'll cover a little bit later, for each one of these reports on this page, you can either just click the view button to kind of view it dynamically. You can click the filter button to add a little bit of filtering, or if you want to be a little fancier, you can then click the advanced filter to add more complex filtering. And then also each one of these reports, you can click the little clock icon to kind of walk through a wizard to have this thing run every night, and then alternate or optionally have this report delivered to you via email. Now, I do want to click a couple here just to kind of show you. Most of you, I think, have seen this, but if it's your first time taking a look at it, I want to make a nice little important point here. So notice at the very top, what you're seeing here, guys, are a list of all reports that have previously been executed. And here's an important point to note. The reports that display here are only those that I, as an individual, have run. You're not, when you go on this page, even if you're an administrator, you are not going to see reports that other people have run. Basically, each user of the system who executes reports, they'll be listed right here. All of that, guys, under this kind of subheading of formal reports on this page. A little bit later, as I referred to just a few minutes ago, there's another subset of formal reports that get launched from elsewhere. We'll cover those a little bit later in the webinar today. But let's walk through this very quickly, guys. I can take, for example, this box pick list report, and you simply click on the view link. Notice what happens when I do it. If I just want to execute this report right now, it changes the word view to enqueued, which is really just a visual that, okay, we heard what you did, or we saw what you did. You clicked that link. We are now actually preparing to run that report in the background. For those of you on older versions of the software, we used to run reports what's called in process, meaning you would sit on this page and wait for the report to generate. We no longer do that, guys. We run these out of process, which means they run in the background. And then when they're done, you can either just refresh this page, you can leave this page, you can come back to it. We're just going to try the refresh here. If we're still waiting, it'll take it a little bit here. It just depends on each individual report, but eventually that will change from enqueued to processing to complete. When it is complete, and I anticipated this might take a few more seconds than I wanted it to, so I ran another pick list earlier just to give you the quick look. When it is done, you simply click on that link. It shows you the report that has been completed. So that's the easiest way to run these reports, is to simply click the view link down below, and then it will display up here with this link when the report is done. What you can do as well for each one of these reports, as mentioned earlier, is rather than just running the report to show all data, and I'll just grab the box pick list again, you can click that filter link. Every report will have its own set of prescribed filters ahead of time, and you can do this, any way you want, any combination of filtering. But an example might be something like this. I might say, hey, I want to see the box pick list, but I only want to see it for requests that were dated sometime within calendar year 2026. Now, a common mistake people make is they simply put that qualifier in there and they click on Run Report. That doesn't quite do it, guys. After adding whatever filter information you want, you do have to click that Add Filter button. It's not really until you see that text that you know the software now understands what you want to do. Once that is visible, then you can click the Run Report. I will call out also on this page, kind of a recent addition to reports, if you have previously created advanced filters, they will show up in this list here down below. So you can see I created one earlier, and I'll show you this again in just a moment. But the larger point is this: whether you use the dynamic filtering here or saving a filter that was already created, go ahead and choose that and then run the report. So yeah, coming back to the page now, here's the one I ran a minute ago. It's finally completed here. This one will also complete in just a minute or two. Coming back down, guys, again to the box pick list report. So you could view it, you can do simple filtering, or you can do advanced filtering. Guys, this is really intended for those of you that are computer savvy and IT type individuals, because the filtering here can get pretty complex in the sense that you pick and choose from all the available filter fields. But over on this page, you can actually do what's called nesting your logic, which I won't get into the details. If you know what that means, good for you. If you don't worry about it. A little bit complicated. You pick and choose all the available comparison operators, specify criteria, apply what's known as Boolean logic and multiple level sorts. This indeed, guys, is where I created earlier before our webinar today, this advanced query or filter called Butler requests. And you can see what I built here. For those of you really on the technical side, it does show you the underlying what's known as the SQL. And then if you want just one more little tidbit here, you can click the preview button. It says, hey, if you use this filter, it's going to find 14 records that match that particular query. So again, whether you just view it simply, you use the simple filtering or the advanced filtering, they all wind up here back on this page where you're going to be able to see the results. Now, with that, I want to scroll down just a little bit, guys, and talk about this ability to run these reports automatically. It is a nightly process, so it happens one time each night. I'll give you more details there in just a moment. Please recall that if your security right is not turned on, you will not see this clock icon. It's only available for those to whom the right has been given. When you click that clock icon, it does a couple of things. Number one, ignore this stuff on the top left for just a moment. Over here on the right, remember how I said, hopefully you heard, when you have nightly reports, they can be delivered to you via email. And the only thing that's really necessary is that when you schedule it, you put in an email. It can be individual, it could be a distribution list. It just needs to be an email address. In addition to that email, you will also see here a list of previously nightly executed reports. And this list will just build over time. Now, you can delete these individually. You can click the link to view that report again. Down below, guys, you're seeing a list of reports that have been scheduled for nightly processing. So I've only got one. If you're going to have multiple, you'll see multiple reports that are listed here. These details, when you want to add a brand new nightly report, you simply fill out the details that you see here and click that add button. Here's one of those filters, the only filter I have. If you've created other filters, you can pick and choose from them as well. So be aware of this capability for nightly reports. Now, two little outliers I want you to be aware of that kind of govern these nightly reports. One of them is actually found under preferences. So we're going to jump over there. And I want to focus your attention on this guy right here, this report expiration limit. What this applies to, and it is in days, this 14 days, guys. And like all preferences, you can actually set this at a system level, a role level, or user. You could ignore a workstation that's basically been deprecated. But these top three are all available to you. It just depends on your particular use case. The value that you put in here, it does not apply to this list of reports right on the front screen. What it does apply to are those reports that have been scheduled for nightly execution. You can notice I don't have any here more than 14 days old because they automatically get deleted based upon that preference I just showed you. One other in the weeds thing I want to kind of call out governing this, for those of you that have administrative rights, on the admin page, you're going to see something called application settings where there's all kinds of technical stuff that you can set. But if I scroll down here a ways, I want to draw your attention to this one right here. If for some reason, guys, you want to alter the time that those nightly reports get executed, this is where you've come to do it. You can also click that button to just, run them right now rather than waiting for the next nightly execution. So please be aware of those additional properties there that govern those nightly jobs. All right, so coming back to where we kind of started the bulk of our webinar here today, on this page, again, want to emphasize every single one of you using an Infolinks or a Gimmal Physical application, you have a page that looks like this. The exact number of reports, their captions, and the exact number may vary slightly depending on your configuration, but you have all these same categories: pick list, delivery, contents, items out, past due, max items out, general, and is missing, and finally security. You all have this with slight variation. As I mentioned earlier, guys, there are a handful of reports that do not kind of use this page as their hub. Rather, they are dynamically generated from elsewhere in the application. Probably the one that most of you are familiar with would be found over on the Disposition Notices tab. So when you're executing disposition batches, the software will automatically generate some reports for you. I'll just quickly give you some looks here. So there's 3 in number. There's what we call a disposition approval report as part of the first stage of a disposition batch. There's a disposition pick list report, ideally used by your records managers in a storage facility or a warehouse as a pulling aid. Use this to walk around throughout the warehouse to pull the boxes that you need to stage for disposition. And then, of course, finally, there is a certificate of destruction batch report, which kind of memorializes, yep, we have these boxes or files, but here's when they got destroyed, so on and so forth. So this is kind of group number 1 of reports that do not follow the standard paradigm of everything being over there on that reports hub page. The second one, guys, is doesn't cover a lot of you, but for those of our clients that are using our billing functionality, so I've clicked on a tab here called Invoices. We also have the ability to generate invoices. These invoices are generated dynamically elsewhere in the application. We won't have time to walk you through all those details now, but we do have this capability of housing invoices within the software coming from another place. I also want to call out, guys, just a couple of others very quickly. For those of you managing your own warehouse, when you go to admin and you go to space management, when you do things here like, hey, I'm looking for 10 open spaces in my warehouse. So you put the number in there, you click on go. The software goes through its routine to find 10 open spaces in the shelving schema. If you want to see that printed out rather than just on the screen, you click on the printer there. That will also generate the space management report. So it doesn't start over there on that hub of reports, but it starts here. And then finally, guys, last 2 outliers I'll mention here is if we come back to boxes, let's just grab our first box here. And this would be true anytime on any tab where you jump into the history. In addition to being able to search through history in various kind of ways and getting a view and exporting, you can also get a report. So you won't see this report listed in the standard reports on the reports page, but rather you come to history, you get the results however you want to get them, filtering any way you want, and then you can click on the get report to generate a report there. And the last outlier here, guys, involves requesting. So if we come to the request page, we'll look at box requests. I'm going to view request history, and I can do this kind of thing. I can say, again, filter it any way that you want. You just need to get some results down below. Once you get some results, you can then click on this button to also generate a report that way. In the end, guys, however, wherever the reports get generated, with the exception of the disposition reports, we always then display the reports in this grid right here. And once they're done, scroll back over a little bit, you can click on this link. So there's the space management one. Down here a little bit, when I prepared for the webinar today, here's one based on request history. Here's one based on item history. So again, with the exception of the disposition reports, you come here to view your reports unless you've got the nightly report being delivered to you via email. Last topic to cover here, guys. All of these reports that you see down below, most of you, I think, are aware, in addition to these stock reports, you can actually create entirely new reports from scratch, and then you can embed them right here on this page. I've set up one example quickly here. So I just took our standard box pick list report and I modified it. Now, really important point, so please hear this. To modify the look and feel of a report, you do need to use what's known as Microsoft Report Builder. It's a free download, doesn't cost any money, but it does require basic report design skills. So you can use that software to change the look and feel, the logos, the colors, the aggregations, the arrangement of data on the report. And again, to save a little bit of time here, I think I generated this. Yep, I generated this report earlier just to show it to you quickly. So just as an example, right, I took my standard box pick list report, I gave it a different name, I added a new logo, I changed some colors, just as one quick example. But really, the sky is the limit. Using Microsoft Report Builder, you can change how all of these reports look and feel. So it can be a brand new report, or you could actually do this to the existing reports. If you just wanted to put your logo, for example, on every one of the stock reports, you could do that using that tool. Associated to that, guys, I'm going to jump you one last place into the application here. Under admin, we're going to go to reports right down here. And I want to call out, here's the custom report I added. 3 things you can do here. If you've got reports, maybe some custom ones that you don't like the way they came out or you no longer use them, you can simply delete them and remove them from the application, okay? Or if there's some stock reports and they're just cluttering up your screen, you can delete those as well. Get rid of reports you're not going to use. But these 2 links here are really important if you're going to be doing your own report design. The edit file link, won't have time to walk through all these buttons here, but the 2 you'll primarily use is download. And the primary use case there, guys, is if you want to take an existing report and then modify it rather than starting from scratch, you would use the download here. It would download it locally to your machine. You can then open up that file in Microsoft Report Builder and just tweak it however necessary. Once you're done tweaking that or creating one from scratch is when you use the upload to get that report file into the application. And in addition to just changing the look and feel of report, you can also change the underlying metadata. Apologies, it does get a little bit technical here, but basically all of the database views that we use in the software for various purposes, including generating reports, and there's dozens of them. You can pick any of those views, and then once you've chosen one of the views, you get to pick and choose which data fields within that view you're going to have displayed on a report. So all of that to say, guys, you can modify existing or create new reports using a combination of these buttons to get those custom reports loaded up into the application. One other comment I want to make here, guys, these outlier reports, and again, there's really 5 of them. There's the disposition reports, there's the item history report, the request history, the billing invoice, and the space management. 3 of those reports, guys, you cannot modify them. All the others you can. Specifically when it comes to disposition reports, the item history or the request history. You cannot change the look and feel of those reports. We'll come back here one more time to give you one look at a report I didn't show you earlier. Here's one example. You cannot change this report. You will have to reach out to Gimmal/Morae if you want to change the look and feel of those three reports. Again, request history, item history, and then those disposition reports that we mentioned earlier. All right, with that, that's the end of my content. Kick it back over to you, Marcia. Help me wade through any questions that have come in.
Yeah, you bet. We do have a few. Thanks for that run through, Tim. The first one was from Amanda earlier. She was saying that her report file is completely blank. Do I need to click something for the report to appear? I don't know if you can answer that here, if that's more of a support type thing.
Yeah, I need a little more detail. Amanda, if you could add some more detail in the chat, we'll circle back to it, or just email Marcia and we'll just answer you offline after the webinar.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll look for that. The second question was from Rich. Tim, he was asking, can reports be scheduled to run multiple times per day or
Nope.
just nightly?
Nope, they can only be run once automatically, but hopefully you saw there, Rich. You can, if you want to put in the work to do it, you go back over to admin. You can do this kind of thing. Not that I'm necessarily recommending it, but you can. Go to application settings here. If you want to run it manually multiple times, you can click that button as many times as you want.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
Uh, One more just came in from Lisa. When I try to run reports, they stay in queued status. I looked and it appears I have access in admin. Does that make sense?
Okay, it's a little bit technical, but what usually this means, if your reports, let's come back to that page, if it stays up here, if it says in queued forever, what that usually means is there is, and I'll show you here on my machine, your machine's not going to look like this, but there's actually what's known as a service that runs in the background. In your guys' case as a client, it doesn't run on your machine. It runs on a server there locally if you have an on-premises installation, or it runs in the cloud. All of that to say, if it stays in the in-queued status forever, it means there's something wrong with this service. Mostly it means that service is probably not running. And that's your cue to say, issue a support ticket and say, guys, help me figure out why my service is not executing.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tim. Okay.
Yep.
And last one's from Cindy. Does Morae Gimmal provide training on report design?
Yeah, guys. In recent, I forget exactly when we started this, but probably within the last 2 or 3 years, it's pretty much a standard part of our SOW. When you first go live with your Gimmal Physical, soon to be called Morae Physical, by the way, when you go live, it's standard practice to give you a 1 hour kind of just jam session on how to use Microsoft Report Builder and do whatever it is you want to do. It's not extensive. I mean, you can make it more extensive, but yes, we offer that training. If you didn't get that training and you somehow missed it, reach out to support. Or if you just bought the product a while ago, we did not include it. So it wasn't like you missed it. We just didn't offer it back then. In either case, reach out to support and say, hey, what does it take for me to get some training on Microsoft Report Builder?
Great. Okay. That's it, Tim. That's all the questions for today. So
All right,
appreciate
good.
it. Let's just
Back
go
over.
to wrap up here. And next one. There we go. Perfect. All right. Well, that is the end of today's session. So thanks for joining us, everybody. On the right side of the screen is our Q2 sessions. These will be invites for these will be sent out in the next couple weeks. But one thing I wanted to point out for those that are on the call today, for Gimmal Physical users, we're going to be doing a focus group meeting. It's kind of a version of a user group meeting, but we're going to focus on carts in Gimmal Physical. So if you are using the carts functionality, we'd love to have you join us. And if you're not, we'd love to have you listen in. But those that are using the carts functionality, it'll be a good panel discussion for upcoming improvements in the product in that area. So that will be April 21st. And look for more details on that soon. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. If you have any suggestions for future sessions that you would like us to put on for you, please email me or success@morae.com, and we'll be happy to get that in the queue. Thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful day.